Mike Tyson was bullied, abused, and violated. So how did he become one of the most ferocious fighters of all time? Growing up in Brownsville, New York, Tyson was surrounded by squalor, drugs, and violence. He never knew his father, and his mother was a prostitute, and she also fed Tyson alcohol as a baby. Still, everything changed when Tyson met the legendary trainer Cus D'Amato. Tyson won everything D'Amato promised: women, riches, and the World Heavyweight Championship. The trouble is, everyone wanted a piece of Mike. Mark Kriegel's book, Baddest Man, charts Tyson's rags to riches story. In this video, I'll discuss the main themes in the book and give you my honest thoughts on it. It's no surprise Tyson had just a traumatic childhood in Brownsville, which around the time of the 60s and 70s was just renowned for its levels of poverty and unemployment. Local kids ruled the streets carrying guns, knives, and industrial-length chains. Of course, this environment shaped Tyson. In one scene, Tyson's mother's boyfriend punches Tyson in the stomach. Tyson then just swarms the boyfriend, mauling him to the ground and repeatedly kicking him in the head. Despite everything he experienced at home, Tyson was actually quite a sensitive kid and slept in the same bed as his mother. So kids in the street would just ridicule Tyson, taking the mick out of his lisp and his glasses. They would call him a little fairy. And it's just incredible to me to think of Tyson just being bullied, because it was only around 12 years or so later that he would become one of the most intimidating heavyweight champions of all time. Around the late 80s, he of course won his first 19 fights by knockout within 6 rounds. And Tyson's sensitivity was really exacerbated by his love for keeping pigeons. He says, "As I watched the birds soar above me, at that moment I was free. I didn't have to worry about the other kids bullying me." When one of the bullies steals Tyson's pigeon and breaks its neck, he finally retaliates against his tormentors. Finally, he wasn't scared. And if you're enjoying this video, you can check out a playlist of all of my reviews about boxing books. I will post that in the description of this video. Fear was really a specialist subject for D'Amato, who was a trainer who really made Tyson what he was. He took Tyson in, saved him from the streets, and became his legal guardian. He was the biggest influence in Tyson's life until he sadly died of pneumonia in 1985. D'Amato said fear was essential for any successful athlete. He carried that wariness in his dealings with women and finances. He was skeptical to a fault and just shunned any kind of pleasure in his life. So when Kriegel writes about D'Amato, the book almost reads like just a series of essays, which I thought was quite interesting at times. Kriegel writes about how in 1956, D'Amato guided the great Floyd Patterson to becoming the world's youngest ever heavyweight champion. Who would break that record? Of course, I'm Mike Tyson. D'Amato taught Tyson about fear too. He made him read books such as Zen in the Art of Archery and Self-Mastery through Conscious Autosuggestion. He gave the boxer private lectures on how to harness his emotions and also had him hypnotised on a regular basis. Many writers, including Kriegel, have really painted D'Amato as almost zany in his single-mindedness and his approach to the mental side of boxing. In the book, D'Amato is described as the Pope of his own religion. In another part, D'Amato is said to possess the desperate elation of a mad scientist. When D'Amato died, Tyson in fact said he wanted to retire and just spend his life looking after D'Amato's wife, Camille. While it's widely believed that Tyson lost a degree of intensity after D'Amato died, he still won the World Heavyweight Championship a year later in 1986, tearing through the vastly more experienced Trevor Berbick. Tyson's actions after the fight were indicative of his mindset when Cus died. Wearing the belt all night, Tyson partied till 4 AM, drinking straight vodka and knocking on girls' doors to show them the belt. By the end of this jaunt, he was said to be lonely and isolated. After Tyson won the belt, despite his grief at losing Cus and his increasing reliance on sex, drugs and alcohol, Tyson said, "I want to live forever." This was one of those moments where I just feel like Kriegel created such an evocative scene. And that is really impressive considering a lot of the content in the book is from secondary sources such as Sports Illustrated or, for instance, post-fight interviews. By this time, Tyson was hot property 21 years old and a multi-millionaire with the world at his feet. That said, he was on a journey to self-destruction and substance abuse, and little did he know he was just about to enter the marriage from hell. In 1988, Tyson married Robin Giverns, a young actress known for her time on the ABC sitcom Head of the Class. Kriegel paints a picture of Giverns as selfish and manipulative. Pair her with Tyson, who, even by boxing standards, was just a combustible character, and you really did just have a recipe for disaster. There were reports of physical fights between the two, and throughout their relationship, Tyson also frequently pursued other women. Giverns and her mother, Ruth Roper, also tried to really wrest control of Tyson's career and finances from his then manager, Bill Caton. At this point, I really just felt sorry for Tyson. His mum had died when he was really young. Obviously, Cus had died as well. And then Jimmy Jacobs, his manager, had also died by then. He was practically an orphan with just everyone just trying to leech from him, and it was just a grubby situation. There's also a great photo in the book of Ruth and Robin dragging Tyson along the ground by his ankles, which just symbolises how they tried to control Tyson. The pair then divorced in 1989, shortly after Tyson defeated Michael Spinks. It was around that moment that Tyson was first christened the baddest man on the planet. I'm quite conflicted in how I feel about this book, but there is some really interesting stories in here. We learn about how Tyson was first discovered by Bobby Stewart. We also learned about how a young Mike would eventually earn the nickname Dirty Mike for his impressive pickpocket skills. We also go a lot deeper into the vulnerable side of Tyson, as we learn that he would frequently run away from the arena before some of his amateur fights. That said, there's probably not really enough new information in this book for me to really just lavish it with praise. Another thing which kind of left a sour taste in my mouth is that Kriegel said that he basically wrote the book because he owed the publisher money. And I always think, you know, a book is a piece of art, and if you're doing something for the money, it's obviously not going to be as great. I don't really know why he would just admit this in public, and yeah, it kind of just made me feel like it maybe just devalued the book a little bit. Kriegel also goes really deep into how Don King, the promoter, really just prolonged his fortune when he was chasing Tyson. And I've got to be honest, I wasn't really too interested in this scene. There was also quite a lot of sort of American financial terms, which I didn't really understand. So I don't think that really added to my enjoyment of the book as well. What I will say is that Kriegel is just, he's a brilliant writer. Technically, some of the prose is really beautiful, and I love the way that he really fleshes out characters such as D'Amato. Still, for me, this was just the epitome of a 3 out of 5 book. It wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't awful. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed hearing my thoughts on this book. So thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.